Hey everyone, thank you all for another round of really amazing submissions, and welcome to all the new people. Thank you. So many great photos. I'm definitely not going to be able to get through them all, but I pulled out a few that I thought were really interesting and worth talking about, and tried to mostly focus on, or I think entirely focus on, the people that were new. So if you submitted one last week, sorry, didn't get to yours, but let's keep this going and continue to let me know feedback. It was really helpful. So I turned the light on, I'm using the better camera this time. Hopefully you can see, not just looking at the top of my head as much. We'll give this a try. All right, so getting into the first shot. I'm not going to try to pronounce names this time. I'm just going to embarrass myself. You're up on the top left there with, these are alphabetical. Really liked this one. So, we got the Statue of Liberty there in the middle. Where's my pencil? There we go. Statue of Liberty there in the middle, which is a very vertical element. Then with all these other vertical elements, I think the kind of elements of a dock. Even in the background, there's these other little, looks like cranes maybe, kind of echoing the arm of the Statue of Liberty. It's really, really cool. My only real feedback is that it's all so small because of the crop here. I mean, this is a big vertical crop, and really the details that are interesting are way in there. And so at a normal, social media size, you barely can see all that. So my suggestion would be to crop this in a little bit tighter, because, that upper part of the sky up there isn't really adding that much to the image, and even the bottom part of the water down there too, all this and all this, I'm kind of wondering if we need that. It is cool that it's this really vertical composition with the 9:16 aspect ratio, but I would actually kind of wonder what it would be like if we made it more of a square, and then just really kind of focused in on it more like that. I think that could be kind of cool. So try that. And then also I was wondering, the colors feel like they skew a little bit on the green side. Maybe the tint slider, just push that towards magenta a little bit. Could be interesting to just kind of pull out some of the warmer colors of this sunset, which is so nice. But gosh, I really like this photo a lot. This is awesome. Great job on that one. All right, moving on. This one was really cool, but I had to kind of zoom in and look at it a little bit to notice the things that were cool about it. So we've got this kind of city over here, balanced by some people doing some work in a field. Really cool elements, but at a small size, you barely see that. So it's actually kind of similar feedback to the last photo. What if we crop this one in a little bit so that we can see the details a little bit more, and there's kind of a nice corner to corner balance between these things where the image feels balanced, almost like scales. We've got the city up here and the people over here. That kind of helps it do that. So I think emphasizing that a little bit more with a tighter crop, and maybe a little bit more of a thinner crop too, so it's more horizontal, not quite so square, could help that as well. But still keeping this kind of cool vertical line that we have with the hill. I liked that a lot. So yeah, that would be my only suggestion there. Maybe you could try higher contrast. I know you're going for sort of a apocalyptic sort of scene, which was cool. Maybe boost the brightness, but then also boost the contrast a lot more so that everything gets even more graphic in that way. Could be really cool. But great job. I like this one a lot. This shot by Burger Child, fun name. This shot blew me away. I really don't have a lot of constructive feedback other than to just point out the things that I really like about this one. So obviously, this person's face framed by the door there is so cool. But then as I looked at it closer, I noticed there's sort of the balance of this helmet with their face, and then even there's these windows that all kind of balance, circular elements there. There's the red and the blue, which is a nice color contrast. I love the really dramatic lighting on the subject there. And then even how we see into the next building a little bit, which is nice. Kind of gives a little bit more sense of depth. It's just really cool. The only thing I guess I kind of wish for, being extremely selfish, would be that we could see even more this way, down the street even a little bit, to give it some extra depth. That could have been really cool. Not sure if that would even be possible, but I just thought this one was great. Really good job. Okay, so with this one, I kind of wanted to talk through both of these photos, because this person submitted several, and thank you. And I wanted to kind of compare and contrast. So this one has really nice balance on a few levels, right? There's sort of a top, a middle, a bottom, a middle, and a top with, these kind of sections here. But then also there's really nice balance between things that are close and things that are far. So you've got this, the mountain and the bird. And then there's also a really nice balance of like diagonal. So you've got like this diagonal here with the mountain, this diagonal, and then this diagonal, which actually kind of mirrors this same one. So there's a consistency to the composition that's really nice. I really liked this a lot. I will say I was wondering what it would look like. This kind of ends right here, and it's not the bird's not really in the side or in the middle. So I was curious what it would look like if we cropped it so that either it's in the middle like that, or that it's off to the side like that, creating kind of a little bit more of a diagonal, kind of doing like that sort of a thing. That could be really interesting, but I really liked this one. So let me get the writing off of that. There we go. Now, compared to this one, which has a lot of similar elements, it's got a bottom, a middle, and a top, close and front, all that kind of stuff. However, it's get my pen back here. It's not straight, right? So it would be nice if we could straighten it. And then also the bottom here of the bike is kind of cut off. It'd be nice to see a little bit farther down. There could have actually been a really interesting reflection because this is clearly reflective. You can kind of see that. That could have been really nice if it was like, that, but we had the reflection of the bike underneath. That would have been really nice. And then it's also just a little bit dark, a little bit kind of blue, which is cool. It kind of gives it a nice mood, but it just doesn't feel like it works as well as this one. And so I kind of wanted to point out, how this one just really works, and this one feels like it has a lot of potential, but didn't quite get there. So great job on that. And then with similar story with these two. Two photos from Grapes and Cheesy. Thank you for submitting all these. Lots of really great bird photos, actually, which was cool. This one I loved. It's fun how it's almost like you're kind of like peering around a tree or something, seeing this bird, and as the viewer, it feels like we're doing that too, because you can actually see the tree or whatever is kind of blocking this right half of the photo, which is really cool. It kind of puts us into it. There's something close and something far. So I love that. My only two thoughts here would be that it feels a little bit too bright, where we have some of the detail of the bird kind of getting lost there. So a little bit darker would have been cool, and then it would have made this right part of the image a little bit darker too, which kind of could have been a nice contrast. And then also I noticed that my eye is seeing this reflection here, and it wants to see like that and that but this is cut off over here. So I'm it would have been nice if maybe you pulled the composition down and got a little bit more down that way too. That's getting pretty nitpicky, but I thought this was really great. And I had kind of the opposite thoughts on this one, where it actually feels a little bit dark. It's cool. We got this window. We're clearly in like the top of an A-frame house or something like that. Feels like a vacation or a trip or something, which is really nice. But all we really see is maybe some beds here, maybe some detail brought out in some of these shadow areas could have been cool with something like a shadow slider from the tone tool. And then additionally, I was thinking about maybe you could have gotten lower or higher to move where this window line is, because because it's kind of cutting right through those mountains. So if it was there or there, I feel like then the mountains would have been framed in one way or the other. But as it is, it's sort of just cutting right through one of the most interesting parts of the scene, which is those mountains that you're kind of looking at, but you don't see them as well because the window's cutting it off. So had you squatted down a little bit, then the mountains would have been kind of more like in there, and this would have all been sky. Or if you went up higher, same thing, but on the lower window. I think that could have improved it a little bit. But two really thoughtful compositions that I just thought were really, really well done. Just, maybe experiment with brightness and darkness a little bit there. So great job. This one, this just makes, how can you not smile looking at this? It's such a great subject. I like this one a lot. And it really illustrates, I think, the power of a good subject. And you know, some like the previous photos do too, where, you know, if the composition's not quite right, if the color's not quite right, brightness, lighting, all that stuff, but if the subject is really interesting, it can override all that stuff. And I think this one does. Not that there's anything wrong with the lighting and the composition, actually, it's great, but it's just, it's such a compelling subject that it really draws you in. And, you know, we've got this person kind of pointing to their teeth. They've got a star on their fingernail. Clearly they like stars. And then there's like a star on their tooth too, which is really unusual. And then just the smile is really engaging. It feels like, you know, with their eyes closed, like they're laughing, which is nice. My only little point of feedback would be that it feels like the star is actually just a little bit out of focus. Looks like the chin and the nose are more in focus. So it's like focused a little bit front of the star. So moving that focus point in a little bit closer could have helped bring attention to the star a bit more. And then the other thing is, you know, like the main thing about the photo is that kind of the star decal on the tooth, but it is so small. There's a lot of interesting ways that we could play with this subject. So like getting in like super close like that would be interesting. Could be kind of like awkwardly, grossly close to you know, for a picture so close to somebody's mouth. I don't know if you'd want that. You know, so I wonder, like getting a little tighter in, you know, something like that could be interesting. It is nice to have this white background kind of balancing out the darker tones on the right here. That kind of helps give it a feeling of balance. But, you know, what would it look like if it was just, you know, really like that? Yeah, that's kind of cool. I like that. So I would maybe experiment with something like that too. Bringing more of the focus in on the tooth and on the main kind of driving force of the image. But really great job here. I mean, just want to point out the lighting's awesome, coming in like a big softbox or window or something coming in from the left. Really balanced skin tone. It's like neither too saturated or too desaturated. Just feels really good. Looks like there's maybe some grain. Really nice job on this one. Okay, a couple photos by Steve's JPEG. Really liked this one. Thank you for submitting some really awesome photos, by the way. I just wanted to call two of them that I especially drew my eye. This one, I loved how, you know, it does something that the really good abstract photos do, where there's something that you can recognize, but then there's also something that makes you kind of question what you're looking at. And so we're definitely seeing, you know, looks like maybe a suburban house kind of a setting, back of a stop sign, that kind of a thing. But we're looking through something too. There's these lines, and it makes me kind of wonder, like, am I looking at a fence? Am I seeing a reflection of a window? Am I looking through something? I mean, it almost feels like maybe I'm a spy, you know, like looking in on somebody's, you know, watching somebody's house. It creates more questions than answers, even though we can tell a lot of details about the scene, which I just think is really cool. And then with so much out of focus and kind of blurry, it just has a really nice texture to it. Love the lighting. It's cool how there's sort of like a bright and a dark kind of balance there. The real vertical orientation feels really good. It's just really cool. I like this one a lot. So great job on this. Thanks for submitting this. And then I wanted to point out this one has a lot going on. This is really cool. So it looks like we're looking at a seat of a car, maybe an older car, through a windshield, and there's just so much going on here. So, you know, there's this kind of top, middle, and bottom again with the thirds, but then this one also has some really interesting, can I get rid of that? There we go. Diagonals going on with these. And then we've got a balance here between like a darker top left and a brighter bottom right, which is really cool. And then also with the shadows themselves, there's some nice balance where we've got sort of like a 1, 2, 3 kind of thing there, really balanced out nicely. And then again, between not exactly this line, but the top and the bottom, it's really well put together. And I love how there's kind of a color contrast going on here too, between orange and purple, kind of opposing sides of the color wheel. So really cool. I mean, from an editing perspective, I would be curious what it would look like if you pushed that purple more towards blue to like increase that color contrast even more, but it certainly doesn't look bad as it is at all. And then I wonder if we're looking through a windshield here, it looks like, you avoided reflections, which makes the image really clean. It'd be fun to see another one that's like the last one, where, we can see a little bit of what we're looking through. So if you could have backed out, given us a little, I guess you would have seen the phone or the camera or whatever it was, but it'd be fun to see the reflection of the window as well and kind of see what's behind us and add yet another layer to this one. But I mean, that's really reaching. This is a stellar photo. I really like this one. Great job. Thank you. And then with this last one, this person submitted several photos, which really appreciated and liked. And this one especially grabbed me. And I kind of wanted to make the point, in contrast to the other photos that you submitted, that this one, really what stands out about it is the subject and the composition. Whereas the other two were a little bit more, I guess what I saw when I looked at them was a really strong editing style. I saw, borders, color treatment, textures, that kind of stuff. The subject wasn't really the thing that was the loudest about the image. It was the editing. Whereas with this one, I'm actually wondering if there even is really any editing, which is fine because the subject and the composition is really cool. So, there's a balance between the two corners, but then this sort of like circular balance is really cool. And then it's also kind of calling attention to the circles of the eggs. But even there's like a kind of a contrast between the circles and the squares on this side. By the way, this shot makes me hungry. Ramen looks really good. And I loved how even like on the two corners, you kind of lined up the green of the green onions, which balances nicely with the more oranger tones of everything else. So there's really a lot of cool stuff going on here. I mean, I do wonder if we could cut off this a little bit. We might get even more similarities of the, like how much of this circle that we're seeing. That's really starting to reach. But I loved this one. I thought it was really good. So I just encourage you to try to take more photos like that, where the subject and the composition is really strong, not the editing. And the editing is important, obviously, but when it starts to be the loudest thing about the image rather than what the image is itself, it starts to make me wonder if just the subject itself needs to be better. All right, that's it. Thank you all. We'll try to keep doing these. Please give me feedback. What else we could do to improve this. And I'm very curious if it would be better to get just written feedback on more photos versus this longer form video feedback on fewer photos. Let me know what you would prefer. Thank you all, and we'll talk again soon.